Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to this week's video free astrology lesson on Uranus transiting through the 9th house and what that means. So before I begin, I like to just give a little bit of background with the beginning of each of these Uranus transit videos to help us understand what Uranus is all about, the nature of his cycle, and how to find out where Uranus is in your chart so you know whether this video is pertinent to your current life situation or not. So forgive me if you've tuned into all these videos, you'll hear this time and again at the beginning, but hopefully it's helpful to people who need a bit of insight in this area. Firstly, I'd encourage everybody to perhaps pop over to a website called planetwatcher.com. Now this assumes that you know what your rising sign is, you're familiar with your chart. If you don't know that, perhaps go to astro.com and plug in your details, find out what the sign rising on the AC is, and that's your rising sign. Once you know that, go to planetwatcher.com and you'll be able to very easily, see straight away what sign Uranus is transiting currently, whenever you happen to be watching this video. Then, when you know your rising sign and the sign that Uranus is transiting, you can calculate what house that is affecting for you. So currently, when I'm recording this video, anyone with Virgo rising will be having a Uranus transit to the 9th house. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 houses in whole sign astrology gives us Uranus in Taurus. So that is the 9th house for Virgo rising people. So this video is pertinent to them. If you're watching this video in say 14 years time and you've got Uranus sitting in the early degrees of Cancer, well, and you were, let's say you were Virgo rising, well, you would need to look at the 11th house, Uranus transit through the 11th house video to be pertinent to your stage of life, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 houses is Cancer for Virgo rising people, and that is what would be being influenced by the Uranus transit in 14 years time. So I hope I'm making sense here, and I hope I'm helping you to be able to figure out what transit of Uranus you are currently experiencing. I'm using whole sign astrology, where every sign is a singular house. Virgo is your first house. If that's where your AC line is running, doesn't matter if it's running through Virgo at 29 degrees, the last degree of Virgo, that still makes Virgo your first house. Libra your second, Scorpio your third, Sagittarius your fourth, and so on around the horoscope. So that's how I work. I do use a divisional system in my readings, but that serves a very different purpose, how I use that, the Campanus division system. But for the purpose of what we're looking at today, we're using whole sign astrology and Uranus in the 9th house. Now Uranus takes 84 years to go around the whole horoscope, so it's the course of a lifetime, and therefore he spends 7 years in any single sign at a time. So if you live to be 84, theoretically you will only have Uranus having gone through each of the signs once. So they are a once in a lifetime transit that you have from of Uranus to any particular given area of life, any given house. In whole sign astrology, for example, Virgo rising in whole sign astrology is the sign Virgo, but it's also your first house. Libra is your second, so on and so on. So you will only have the influence of Uranus affecting a certain house placement once in a lifetime, but it will last for 7 years. So the influence is very hefty, very life-changing, very powerful. Uranus transits are, in my estimation, some of the most powerful transformative transits a person can have, because they take so long and because we only have them once in a lifetime. Neptune and Pluto are even more powerful, but they don't move, they don't go through as many placements, so we don't necessarily feel their impact regularly the way we do with Uranus. But I will get to Neptune and Pluto transits at another stage down the road. In this video though, we're going to be looking at Uranus in the ninth house, and Uranus, wherever he goes, he shakes up, he revolutionizes, he breaks boundaries, he sort of tears down structures that aren't serving us so that we can rebuild something new. He's a bit of a roller coaster ride. He's very quick, electric type energy, and he's all about change for our benefit, not change for change's sake just because he wants to, but change that's going to help us grow and up level and be more authentic and be more real. Uranus is liberation, empowerment. He is setting free. He is about truth. He is about authenticity. What he wants, what Uranus wants, is to teach us to be really truly ourselves and break away from any conditioning, anything in life that is holding us back from being our true authentic self. So what does this mean in the ninth house? Well, when Uranus moves into the ninth house for Virgo people in 2019, this will mean a 7-year period of searching out your own truths, coming to your own understanding of beliefs, philosophy, religion, faith. So you're going to discover the depths, you know, of your philosophical foundation, if you like, your spiritual beliefs, your personal faith. You're also going to be very drawn to alternative views, you know, so you might really start getting into any type of mystical practices or shamanism or a book of Course in Miracles or something that's not mainstream but is about philosophy and belief. You're going to explore those realms and be very drawn to them when Uranus transits the ninth house. You may also have a very rebellious attitude towards outdated religious attitudes and beliefs. So we see this happening a lot in general society as we move towards a more Aquarian age. Uranus rules Aquarius. We're seeing outdated religious beliefs being put aside, forgotten, gone, fading away, dissolving. So any sort of, belief systems that rose up in the Piscean age, we're going to see them dissolving away in the Aquarian age, but that's a whole other topic. The nature of Uranus in the ninth house is also similar to that, though, on a more personal scale, where anything that's not serving you well, any religious belief systems that you've grown up with, say you went to school at a Catholic school or a, I don't know, Anglican school or something like that, and it was all about, this is what you can't do, this is what, you know, you must say this, you must not do that, don't look at this person that way, you know, there's all these rules and regulations, and they're not serving you anymore. You've grown beyond that. You're leaving it behind, where you can have a kind of a given at the bird kind of attitude to those sorts of belief systems that just aren't serving you anymore, and you walk away from those things during this ninth house transit. So there's a breaking free from religious ideologies as you discover your own belief system, as you really take on board what is truly, authentically, what your soul is about philosophically and faith-wise. You're not going to buy into dogma anymore. You're going to be totally, you know, rebellious towards that and independent. Uranus is independent. So you're going to take on your own independent belief systems based on your own life experience, your own gut instinct, your own observations, and so much more. It's going to be much more authentic belief, authentic faith, not just what you've been brainwashed with, not just what you've been told is the way you do things. You're going to want to know the truth authentically. So you're going to learn to trust your own feelings regarding your faith and your belief systems. Trust your own gut instincts and rely more on the reality of what you've experienced and know. So there's a reworking of your own principles, your own morals as well. This is a house of moral belief, moral behavior. You're going to develop a much more unique life philosophy because of this transit. Now, the ninth house is the house of the higher mind, and it opposes the third house, which is the house of the lower mind. So in a practical sense, the third house is the skills of the hands, or lower primary school, you know, learning the ABCs and the maths and the basics, the foundations. This is taking things beyond that, the philosophies, the higher wisdom, the deeper knowledge is the ninth house. So there is an increased influence here in more New Age type philosophies, because we're heading into the realm of the higher mind, not just the basics of faith and belief that we've been taught, but the higher realm. So you could call them New Age belief systems if you want to put them under one banner. You know, I don't like aligning with that. People think, oh, New Age, kooky, hippie, you know, but that's not always the case. That's beside the point though. You're going to be more interested in astrology, you're going to be more interested in metaphysics, in yoga, in tarot, alternative philosophical theories like I mentioned, because these are taking it to the next level. It's not just about rote learning, yes, 1 + 1 is 2. It's now about how do I feel about this? How is this integrated into the person that I am? So it's a real shedding of ingrained belief systems that were not truly yours during this time. So the third house, it affects our intellect, but the 9th house actually affects our future and our social and career success. And the reason for this is when you're dealing with the houses in this realm of the horoscope, you're dealing with your foundations, your personal, very private you. So, you know, your early learning experiences, your understanding, your family, your home, you know, what you love in life, what gives you joy, 5th house. These are very, very personal you things. Once you get out here, it's all about out in the world, the bigger realm of things, the bigger scheme of things, society, community, collective. And so this transit of Uranus through the 9th house, it is preparing your belief systems and your ideologies and your philosophies in order to support you in the future as you shine in the 10th house and receive rewards and gains in the 11th house. So it's a very important transit for setting you up for the coming 7-year periods ahead that you're going to experience. It's going to set you up for future career and social successes. Career success, social hierarchy or social respectability and authority is seen by the 10th house, which is the house that's going to come next as Uranus moves through, and then he's going to move into there. So what you set up and establish now is laying the foundation belief-wise for your future progress into these very important worldly visible houses. Whatever you establish now will go on to affect the impact that you will ultimately have on the world, not just you personally, which is the case when you're down in these houses. This is about the impact that we leave on society, on the world. So it is really, really an important transit. It's a great transit. Like Uranus in the 9th house, there's nothing to fear here. Like the roller coaster ride means just exploring beliefs, understanding, gaining new insights and knowledge through various roller coaster like experiences, but nothing that's going to shake your world and ruin your life. You know, it's actually a really lovely transit, this one. So you're very, very blessed, you Virgo people. Coming up. Now, it's also a house of travel. So you might experience over the next 7 years a lot more long distance travel, not just short trips to the town next door, but you know, you might live in New York and you might have many, many trips to LA or something, or you might need to even go overseas. But you know, anything over 300 kilometers, 300 miles-ish, is going to be considered to be one of these types of trips. And there's a desire to do also with this transit some more higher learning in a non-traditional way. So this might be, you know, doing some night courses, you know, going to school at night or something like that. It's very non-traditional, go to university by day kind of stuff. So you might do some YouTube classes, some YouTube courses, some of Lada's courses, study astrology, that's higher learning. That's on Astrolada, or you could do one of my Guiding Star webinars that I've prepared as well if you wanted to do some alternative learning of alternative things in a way that's not mainstream learning via YouTube. So you'll have a desire to do this sort of thing. You'll be drawn to revolutionary teachers as well. This is the house of gurus, of inspirational figures, excuse me, and mentors. So Uranus is revolutionary, left of center, alternative, eccentric. You're going to be drawn to teachers who are like this. As well as you'll be probably interested in teaching in a revolutionary way yourself if you are a teacher, and we all are teachers in some degree. Parents are teachers of their children. You know, we teach our partners how to treat us by how, you know, what we allow and what we don't allow. We're all in some capacity in the world teachers in some way. So we might actually approach the way we teach in society in a very revolutionary manner. We're also, it's a house of inspirational figures, so we might be inspired by eccentric, brilliant, exciting people. So you might suddenly develop an interest in, I don't know, like you might be really inspired by the experiments and the inventions of Nikola Tesla, who was a highly Uranian person. And you might really get into researching his stuff and what he said and what he believed, and, you know, so on and so on. He was a genius ahead of his time. You might be very inspired by somebody who has belief systems that are very non-mainstream, someone like Rudolf Steiner, and you might research all his works, and he might become an inspirational figure to you, or even sort of a mentor or guru for you. Similarly, you might be some kind of a mentor or inspirational figure to other people during this time, but in a really revolutionary left of center kind of way as well, depending on, you know, what you do for a living or how you interact with people. But sometimes we are inspirational to other people and we don't even realize that we're being an inspiration to others. So you might, Uranus is surprises and things that are unexpected. You might find that you've been an inspiration over the past few years to somebody and you had no idea, and it came out of the blue. Oh my God, really? I was an inspiration to you? Oh, thanks very much. And you might discover that you have been very, very much a guru or a mentor to someone and you didn't even know it. There's the possibility with this transit of developing a strong intuition as well. So it's not, the ninth house is not an air house. Now, usually in astrology, air houses, which are, got to think, the third house. Let me just adjust this so that I'm thinking correctly here. So it's the third house, the seventh house, and the 11th house are the air houses. Sorry, I just had to get my bearings there for a second. The 3rd, the 7th, and the 11th are the air houses. So those signs, Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius, are very mental and connected to our thought processes. Those are the signs connected with those houses, just so you know. So the 9th house isn't actually an air house, but it is still connected very strongly to our thinking and thought processes, just the same. So Uranus, being a very mental planet, here is going to increase our thought, our thinking. It's going to be quicker. We're going to have faster thought processes. Uranus is a quick electric energy. We're going to get light bulb moments, intuition, sudden downloads, sudden sort of psychic insights that will just manifest all of a sudden. We'll get goosebumps and tingles. This is often what Uranus brings to different realms of our life, where we get sudden intuitive insights into things. Now, Uranus, just so you know, is actually the higher octave of Mercury. Mercury is about learning, it's about communication, writing, speaking. It's a personal planet for we human beings. And Uranus is the next level of Mercury. So he's like Mercury on steroids, you know, very powerful mental activity, genius level mental activity, especially if you've got Uranus strong in your personal chart. You can be very mentally, like Nikola Tesla, like just switched on, ahead of your time, progressive, visionary, genius level. So these sorts of things can really, you might notice them playing out more, because this is a house of mental work, like higher learning, higher education, philosophy. You might be getting a lot more sudden, quick insights, downloads, genius ideas, brilliant knowledge in various realms of life through this transit. So you might suddenly find that your wisdom just goes out the ballpark. It becomes amazing. Now, in some astrology schools, this is actually not only the house of inspirational figures, but the house of the father. So Uranus's 7-year transit to this realm can actually indicate some changes to the relationship with the father. Doesn't mean that your dad's going to die or anything like that, but it can mean that there is some distance between you and your father. Say your father lives in Adelaide and you have to move to Brisbane for work, and so there's a separation of distance between you and your father, or maybe some other separation that occurs where your lifestyle just doesn't allow you to just connect with your dad the way you always have. So there can be separations and changes to the relationships and the dynamics with the father. It can mean a falling out with the father as well, or it can mean, because Uranus is like a roller coaster, that there's lots of upheaval and change. One moment you and your dad are like this, the next moment you're not seeing each other for months at a time, so there's some big yo-yo like changes to the relationship that you have with your father. But the final thing that I want to talk about with this Uranus transit to the 9th house is, if you are feeling stuck during this transit, well, the way to deal with feeling stuck during a Uranian transit, in this case, it's to take a holiday and go and immerse yourself in other cultures. Trips to other cultures will really shift any stuck energy for you while Uranus is in the the 9th house, because the 9th house is connected to cultural experience. What we, going to different restaurants, trying different food, going to Chinese New Year celebrations, or maybe joining in some African celebratory experience in your local community. By immersing yourself in other cultures, you're going to be able to shift any feelings of being stuck or thwarted or frustrated. Now, Uranus, wherever he goes, he likes to shake things up and to change things. So you can help support him to do that by going and experiencing other cultures. So it's actually a really good transit to go for a trip overseas. Not like if you live in America, not to go to England or Australia, where the culture has similarities and we're very Western, but to go do a safari through Botswana, or maybe go and experience what it's like and do a trek through Nepal or something, and go and experience firsthand what other cultures are like. And it's really going to, with Uranus here, shift your perspective on life, your understanding of the world and your place in it. It'll really help with those philosophical questions that Uranus is going to be causing you to ask throughout this 7-year transit. So immerse yourself, take the opportunity with this transit, immerse yourself in other cultures, have some adventures culturally, and you will find that your whole world broadens and shifts, that you break free from any attitudes and beliefs that are holding you back, and you start to embrace what it is to be human, what it is to be the divine, having a human incarnation. So it's going to be a very empowering time, very liberating time at a very mental level for all of you people who are having a 9th house Uranus transit. So thanks for joining me for a sojourn through the 9th house with Uranus, and may it be a blessing to you. May you come out the other side really empowered and invigorated through this Uranus transit, and join me next week for a trip through the 10th house.